Phil, you're there. I'm here. That must mean it's time for another Half Baked. Half Baked is the show where one of us, eponymously brings a half baked idea to the table and we sit around and we discuss it. Some of these ideas are completely serious, some of them are less serious, some of them are frivolous, some are frivolous. We'll chat about it over the course of the next 20 minutes or so, and we'll decide whether we're going to fully bake it or we're going to throw it in the bin. Phil, how are you? Where are you? How are you?
I'm in California as usual, and I'm on Prolon this week, which is a fast mimicking diet. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but basically
Sure.
what you do, yeah. So I'm a bit grumpy because I'm not really eating anything. What happens is you pay something like 150 quid, $170, something like that, and they ship you a box which has all the food for your diet for your week, and you open the box and there's nothing in it. And yeah, that's what you pay your money for. You pay your money for not getting anything. I mean, in some ways, it's a brilliant business model. Like it's genius. But what you got to overcome that. I've got a friend who once said, well, let's leave this nightclub. I was going, we're not going to leave the nightclub. Just spent 10 quid to get in. This was about 40 years ago. That was a lot of money. And he's going, no, imagine you're paying the 10 quid to leave because it's so terrible. Um, so it's a bit like that. You're not paying for the stuff inside. You're paying for okay, I'm not going to eat anything this week. So yeah,
Amazing.
I'm on four. I'm on day four of
Oh,
not eating anything, basically.
wow. Okay, and what prolapse is that? What it's called? What's it?
No, that's something completely different. It's Prolon. No, I don't know if I should be really promoting it, but yeah, I've done it before, once before,
Okay.
and yeah, it works wonders. It's amazing how eating nothing makes you lose weight.
Oh, it does. Yeah, absolutely. We've even done a half baked episode on that, as you know, um, our favourite fans will remember. Begs the question: how good is the box?
It's a really nice box. In
It's a
fact,
really
my
nice
wife's done it
box.
a few times as well, so I've kept the boxes because they're really lovely for storing
Really
stuff.
nice.
Yeah, they're no good for storing food in, obviously, as we've heard, but
Yeah.
they're good for storing knickknacks.
Yes, nicks and indeed knacks, rather than snacks. All right. Well, I don't know. Yeah, crazy. And is it working? I mean, you look really, really thin to me, but that might just be the light cast by your light.
Yeah, it's I am down to a fairly low weight, first lowest weight in about since before the pandemic, I think. But
Okay.
can I keep it off? Is that
Yeah,
just me not having
this is
any
it.
food in my body that's actually the reduced weight? We'll see. I'm going to keep going a little bit further after the end of the week and see how far I can get it. Anyway,
And can you
enough
have?
about.
Can you drink loads of red wine to offset the misery of not being able to
No,
eat?
you're not allowed red wine. You're not allowed. You're not allowed tea. Oh my God, I drink like 10 or 20 cups of tea a day. No tea is kind of. You are allowed herbal tea, but as we know on previous half baked episodes, that's not real tea. And actually, this isn't real tea because it's got no milk in it and it doesn't have any sugar in it either. So it's just you can drink as much herbal tea, decaffeinated tea as you like, but yeah, so that's difficult. No
Well,
wine. This is
yep,
probably the longest I've gone without drinking any alcohol. I think
yep,
it's 3 days I've gone without
yep.
alcohol. That's unheard of.
Wow.
And yeah, but I'm
And
discovering the benefit
how are you
of drinking
how are you
water.
feeling? Are you feeling like? Are you feel? I mean, are you irritable? Are you
I'm not too
randy?
bad. I feel slim. It's like Kate Moss says. There's nothing tastes as good as slim feels. I'm totally on board with that.
Wow. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But anyway,
Um,
enough about
I don't
me.
know. It sounds like you got too much money to me, Phil. Spending £150 on some air when you could be getting it for free. Is that because you're wealthy?
Well, that goes nicely into our subject in a moment. But before we do that, I thought I'd ask you, Alistair, how are you?
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty good. Yeah. I've been eating loads. I've been drinking loads of red wine. I'm putting weight on. Feels pretty good to me. I'm enjoying a herbal tea right now where I am in the UK. in Yorkshire, and everything's pretty good. But I am intrigued about your subject today. It has got something to do with wealth. It follows on the back of your lauded, critically acclaimed, and award-winning book, How Much? Um, take it away. What's this all about?
Look at that! How much I did? I didn't think we'd talk about that, but
Wow.
let's talk about that for another time.
How much did you pay for the AI generated artwork on the front?
My best friend did that. Shout out to Tom Fisher. Thanks, Tom, for all your help with the book on that.
Sorry, Tom.
So, yes. So yeah, it's tax season here in the US. All US citizens have to put in a tax return, even if you didn't earn very much. And so I've been doing that. And while I've been doing that, I've been starting thinking more about taxes because my tax bill was not it wasn't small, and so it made me think a lot more about taxes than I've ever done before. I'm a big fan of look, just pay your taxes. You know, why not? Somebody needs to, but it's really made me think differently about it. And the other thing that's happened, obviously, is this all the news about the tariffs that the Trump administration has put on other
It's a
countries.
beautiful word. It's a great word.
So yeah, so it's made me think about tax. And my main thing, my half baked idea is we shouldn't steal from the wealthy. And my feeling is it's especially in the UK. I don't maybe not so much in the US, but in I think in the US as well actually. It's people think it's all right. Let's just steal from the wealthy. And actually, it's so built into British psyche that we even have a national hero who we loved because he stole from the wealthy. We stole from the rich, which was Robin Hood. And he's lauded. That's brilliant. Yeah, steal from the rich, give to the poor. My feeling is that a lot of people still support that concept, even though they don't necessarily live in Sherwood Forest these days, and and yeah, and I think it's actually morally wrong, and I think people would use a moral argument to say it's actually morally right, but I think it's
Mm-hmm.
actually wrong, and so that's
Mm-hmm.
my half baked idea. Let's turn that upside down and no longer think it's all right to steal from the rich.
So, immediately you're using the word, well, using a couple of interesting words there. Shouldn't, you know, conventional wisdom would have it should, but steal is that right? I mean, is it criminal? Is it not just kind of bringing money back from the wealthy and investing it in society rather than like drugs or whatever might happen if you stole something? Why are you choosing that word?
Because you know there's a lot of arguments that the wealthy have got there by stealing it, or the wealthy have got there by sheer luck, or the wealthy have got there by inheriting it, all and some combination thereof. And yeah, some people inherit it, and some people get lucky. And life's about getting out a little bit of luck every now and again.
No, no, no. No one ever gets lucky. There is no such thing as luck, as we'll probably debate on a future episode of whatever this is called, Harpeg.
But
Luck doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It's a word just made up to describe probability. So there's no such thing. Anyway,
but
side
But
project.
the poor, people are envious, especially in the UK. I think of and maybe not even envious. They maybe just jealous, envious of the rich, and therefore somehow despise them. But I'm not certain that should be the case. If you look at the where tax income comes from, so the UK government has to generate something like 1.1 trillion pounds a year in from taxes, and that's about 1,100 billion pounds, and something like 45% of that comes from taxes related to income. So that's about 500 billion pounds comes from taxes. Now I'm going to use UK, but the numbers are not that dissimilar when you look at countries like the United States. I look at countries like France. The numbers are bigger for the United States because the population is something like 6 times bigger, 5 times, 6 times bigger. it's 340 million people compared to 68 million in the UK. And actually, there's 68 million people in France as well. So almost exactly the same number. Anyway, so 270 billion. So about half of that income generated from income taxes related to income taxes comes from income tax directly. And if you break down, we've got some numbers here. If you break down in the UK where that, it's already boring you, I can see, Alistair. If you break down where that income tax comes from, 15 million workers in the UK pay nothing. Those are people of working age who are actually working. They don't pay anything. 24 billion is paid by 12 million workers. And then the rest is paid by 5 million people. So something like, what was that number I mentioned? Something like $250 billion is paid by just 4 million people. That's a lot of money. So 85, it breaks down into thirds actually. 85 billion is paid by about 3 million people.
Mm-hmm.
81 billion is paid by another 1.5 million, and another 81 billion is paid by just 500,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
So it means that something like 90% of the income tax, comes from just 5 million people, and a third of that comes from just 500,000 people. So
Okay.
my
It
premise is
sounds unfairly stacked when you put
that's
it like
right.
that.
That's right.
But
And
I think what you're saying is, on principle, it's wrong. So
yeah,
there's a principle hanging over all of this, which is wrong, right? Regardless of like what proportion ends up getting paid by who. If you've got more money, you shouldn't pay more.
well, maybe even if it was just proportional, maybe I could get on board. But it's
Mm-hmm.
not proportional. The
Disproportionate.
richer you are, the numbers then accelerate. So it's not just so. One analogy is you went into a restaurant. They don't go, "Sorry, how much do you earn?" Oh, I don't earn very much. Okay, here's the price list for people who don't earn very much. Oh, you earn like loads. Oh, here's the price list for you. So if you're both buying the same meals with the same drinks and everything, you normally would pay the same in a restaurant, but here the
Uh-huh.
rich would pay more. Does that sound
Yep.
right? It doesn't sound right to me. And the other thing is, if you buy your first drink, it's a certain price. Buy your second, third, or fourth drink, or suddenly the price for the second, third, and fourth drink are more expensive as it goes up. Does that sound right? No, it doesn't sound right. So why should the income tax rate for people who get paid loads more suddenly be so much higher? It doesn't sound right to me.
What does income tax get spent on? I'm guessing it get. Yeah, I don't know actually. I was going to say it gets spent on education and health and
Yeah,
sort of
it does.
public,
Loads of
defence
public
and all those
services.
sorts of things. But I don't know how it goes between income tax and corporation tax and council tax and all that sort of stuff that we've got in the UK. So I'm not quite sure how it works, but it
Yeah,
would
well,
follow if that is the case. It would follow the richer you are, the more you're using those services,
you're not. You're not using those
and
services
maybe you're
more.
not.
No, you're not. I mean, yeah, the income tax is just a small. It's a part. It's a half of the money that. Sorry, it's not the income tax. Taxes related to income, I should say. So there is some money that comes from national insurance. There's some money that comes from capital gains. Some money comes from stamp duty. Some from inheritance tax. They're all lumped into what is income tax. But they're a small part. It all goes into one big pot, and then from that you pay for your public services, your welfare, your health, your education, your defence. Now, one interesting thing here is the government makes £172 billion from national insurance contributions, which is part of that 500 billion number I mentioned. But they then spend that money. They spend that money that they're getting in each year. So that's money you're paying in, supposedly, everybody who's earning, to a pot that's then going to pay for your pension when 10, 20, 30, 40 years later. except the government are spending it this year. So there's no bank account. There's no account where they put that money to save for that future. No, it's getting spent right now. So I think that's interesting to know as well. But there are other taxes, right? You get 160 billion pounds, which is similar to the amount of money they generate from national insurance from VAT. Which and I think VAT is a weird name. Value added tax. What does that even mean? Like, and in the US they call it a sales tax. No, it's not a sales tax. It's a purchasing tax. The person who's buying is paying the tax. Yeah, I mean the other thing is they're making 24 billion pounds a year from fuel. Every pound you spend on petrol, you're spending another pound to the government. They make 13 billion from alcohol, 10 billion from tobacco, 8 billion from vehicles. So yeah, smoke your fags, drink your beer. You're generating money for the government, and quite a lot of money actually as well. And that
Yeah,
applies equally to poor people and rich people, right?
and some of those taxes are quote unquote unfairly geared towards the wealthy as well, aren't they? In other words, the more expensive the car, the more um, fuel, fuel you use, and therefore the more tax you use, but the more road tax you pay as well. Certainly the case in the UK. They've got this. I heard on the news yesterday in the UK that they're thinking about increasing taxes on cars based on their weight. So the heavier your car, the more damage it's going to do to the roads, the more potholes it's going to increase. And because we've got no money left in the UK, we've got potholes everywhere. We can't actually fill them in. So, but back, just rolling back a little bit to the principle. If you are wealthy, okay, there's a bunch of reasons why you might be wealthy, but the chances are you probably worked hard or had a great idea or a moment of inspiration or you're really good at, I don't know, managing people or, you've got kind of gifts and talents and you've maybe educated yourself in order to get them, which is hard work. And therefore, why should you have to pay more, just by dint of having worked harder? And I know that's a little bit reductive, but that's kind of at the core of what you're saying, I think, isn't it, Phil?
It is. It is exactly, and it just doesn't seem right.
Well, what's the alternative? Because if you steal from the wealthy at the same rate as you steal from the non-wealthy, then the overall amount of tax will go down. So that means that there'll be less money to spend on really good things like being in hospital.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, Alistair. I haven't got a solution to this. I'm just saying. I'm highlighting that it morally doesn't pass the smell test for me.
Good. You've just brought us back on brand there, haven't you? I haven't got a solution for it. It's a half-baked idea. How do other countries do it then? So if this is kind of capitalism or whatever you call it, I don't know. Then communist societies, I don't know. I'm running the risk here of proving my ignorance live on YouTube for a change. But isn't a communist society where everyone pretty much gets paid the same? The state controls all of the decisions, and people don't pay tax because it's sort of taken out at source. You don't, because you're only getting a small amount of money, and everyone gets the same. Is that how that works?
I have no
In
idea. I can't comment on that. You're going beyond my level of knowledge, Alistair.
and how do things work in Vanuatu, Phil?
It's funny you should mention Vanuatu because that brings. I'd forgotten all about this, Alistair. There's precedent for places that don't have income tax, and I think somewhere here I've got a list of countries
What?
that don't have income tax. So in Asia, Brunei doesn't have income tax. In Europe, Monaco doesn't have income tax. In the Middle East, the United Arab Emirates, Oman, Qatar, Kuwait. And then in the Caribbean, or Caribbean as some people might say, you've got the Bahamas, the Cayman Islands, Bermuda, and in the South Pacific,
Here we
as you
go.
as you have
Drum
mentioned,
roll.
the island of Vanuatu.
Vanuatu.
But on top of that, there's a few countries that don't have sales tax or VAT. Hong Kong doesn't have any sales tax or VAT. Going back to the Caribbean, they seem to be very tax low on tax. Cayman Islands, British Virgin Islands, Turks and Caicos, Bermuda, again, they don't have sales tax. And then a few years ago, a few places in the Middle East didn't have them, but they've got a small sales tax these days of 5%. So yeah, there is precedent for not having income tax, but they fund their government expenditure in a very different way, clearly.
And it's a way that we don't know about, so we can't say because this is half baked. You know, this show isn't called Baked, right? And there's a reason for that. So we've done just enough research to be completely ignorant. That's where we're coming from. Okay, so I don't know. It feels to me that it just feels inherently right. Something about being brought up British or whatever it is, that the more you earn, the more you should spend.
I'm
That
not
just
against that. The more you should spend, that's fine.
Sorry, the more
But
you should spend on tax.
and I'm not totally against that. It's the pillaging of
Yeah,
the rich, of the wealthy. They're a minority group, the wealthy. If it was any other minority group, then everybody would be up in arms. Oh, you can't treat them like that. And yet, the wealthy. You do what they like. Well, let's steal from them. If it was any other minority group, we said we are going to
no,
steal from everybody,
it,
it'd be outrage.
I know. Now that you've put it like that, you're quite right. It is a equality, diversity, and inclusion issue. You're quite right.
And I think
All
it's like I
right.
say, it's also built
Oh
into the British
gosh.
psyche. In America, like you have the American dream, which is everybody wants to become wealthy. That's the
Yeah.
thing. Whereas I think that's not the case in the UK. I don't think everybody wants to become wealthy because they don't think they can. The social mobility isn't as high in the UK. So it's not a dream because people know they can't get there. So it's the way they think about wealthy people is different. Like here in the US, if people are wealthy, I don't think people are as jealous or envious of it because they want to be that too. Whereas in the UK, there is that. I mean, if somebody's trying to come out of a junction in a crappy car in England, we let them out. If somebody's in a freaking Ferrari, nah, maybe I'm not what bother. If they're in an Aston Martin, that's a different thing. And I think people let people have an Aston Martin. There's something like, yeah, they're driving British. Good on you.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise,
It's
no.
true, and there's something in our psyche as well that we kind of, we're a little bit. There's a bit of an ick about flaunting your wealth in the UK. I walked to the train station the other day, and I had this amazing sounding engine as I got closer, and there was an Alfa Romeo 4C, which won't mean anything to you because you're in the States, and Alfa Romeo doesn't really exist in the States. But it's a beautiful little two-seater sports car there. It sounded amazing, and the guy just lives around the corner from me, and I've never seen his car. And it's like it's because I keep it in the garage all the time. As we previously discussed on this channel, you're doing a service to society by having a pretty car like that. Stick it on your drive, and just put a really good immobilizer on it, obviously. But yeah, there's something ingrained in our psyche about if you have the wealth, you don't flaunt it. Maybe because you're expecting the tax man to come round. I don't know. Huh. Okay. Okay, Phil. Have you got any other? Actually, where I am, I'm unconvinced, and I'm not sure why. It's partly because it's in my DNA. It's partly because he said, "No, of course I don't have another solution." Therefore, I'm worried about the societal mores that keep us stuck together, just breaking down overnight in a Lord of the Flies kind of way when all of a sudden there's no tax. So, is there anything else that you want to do to try and convince me? Because at the
Yeah,
minute,
I mean, for me,
I think that you're talking dog
yeah,
dirt.
for me, just because somebody doesn't have a solution doesn't mean they're wrong. And here, I think it is. It's this idea of stealing from the wealthy is wrong. I'm not saying the wealthy shouldn't be paying stuff. Um, I'm just saying this concept that screw them, they've got loads of money anyway. Let's just take loads off them. I don't think it's right, and we should try and find a different solution on tax policy so that that doesn't happen.
It famously drove the Rolling Stones out of the UK. back in the 70s, probably. I think they were making Exile on Main Street. I think the Exile kind of referred to them as being tax exiles. They left the UK, they went to Chateau in France, they recorded the album. Because, like, at the time in the 70s, it was something like 95, part of their income was being taxed at 95%. It's like kind of that, these things are layered, aren't they? But that top
Yeah,
layer
it was
there, they were saying
above a
five
very
pence in the pound.
above a very large amount, but yeah, and there's not that many people earning that much money, so it doesn't make that much money for the government. So why do it? Why not find a way to fill that number in a different way? Anyway,
Well, look, there you go. The gauntlet has been thrown. The government undoubtedly are listening, because that's what governments do. Government get in touch. Government like, comment, and share. Obviously, but government also get in touch and let us know what that alternative is, what that solution is. The protocols of this show demand that we take a decision on what we're going to do with your idea. It's my job to convince you. Otherwise, I don't think I'm going to do that.
I'm
I
fully
am
baked.
throwing your idea in the bin as far as I'm concerned.
I'm
I've got a feeling
baked.
I know. You want answers, right? You want answers. You need to know what that solution is. Is that right?
That's right. I'm baked. So if people want to agree or disagree in the comments underneath the video, that'll be kind of nice. But
Well, you
yeah, I
must be
think
baked to come up with an idea like this and to say, with extreme prejudice, don't know what that means, but it sounds great. I don't care that there's not an alternative. Awesome. Well, that was great. That was more exciting than I've heard tax be for at least 2 hours since Donald Trump last opened his mouth and talked about it. So well done. We are on the pulse. Admittedly, we're straight to the heart of the periphery, but we're on the pulse as far as world macroeconomics are concerned. Phil, thank you to all of our readers, viewers, smellers, whatever you are. Do like, do comment, do share. To Derek, who got in touch with us on the back of last week's show, who's now taken up smoking and is loving it and thanks us. Derek, you're welcome. Bye-bye for now.